Welcome back everybody. Let's have a look at XRP, and of course we're going to have to look at Bitcoin. As boring as that is, most of the time we're going to have to look at Bitcoin because Bitcoin dictates the trend, and we've got to work out what that trend is going to be. Is it going to drop again, or is it going to continue, or is it going to go sideways? Sideways and up is probably good for the market, but down is bad for everybody. So let's work out what's going on. So we'll start off with just having a brief look at Bitcoin, and what Bitcoin's doing is it's riding up the 10 simple moving average back up to the resistance, the super resistance that we've been under for a while now. And the reason I call this super resistance is because it's become support and resistance for a very long period of time. You thought that this trend line was an important one. It was an important one because when we broke above it we rallied and we all made some decent money off that one. That was an obvious trade to make. This again is a very long time frame for any kind of trend line, and it has significance to it. Breaking above here would be super bullish. Being rejected from here is kind of what I expect, but again, you know, we'll have to respect that. So the reason I call it super resistance and super support is because we were rejected here, supported here, here and here, supported here, here, rejected here, rejected here, rejected here, rejected here, blah 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 blah. You can see 1 2 3 4 5 and finally we come up to this one here. So again, this, like I say, the only reason I bring that to your attention is because the longer any kind of trend or trend line is in place, the more significance it holds. So at the moment I have to respect that it's there and assume that it's going to continue to get rejected from this area roughly. Now what we saw here is, you know, when we came up to it we burst above it. I think there was a lot of hunting for shorts and longs, big wicks both ways that day. So yes, the trend line technically was respected because we closed beneath it, but you know, there's a little bit of fishiness going on at the same time. Anyway, you know, being beneath that trend, I have to assume that we'll still be rejected from it. So that is the deal with Bitcoin. We're riding up the 10 simple on the daily. I imagine that we'll probably do this until we get to this level. If we break down beneath the 10 simple, then it would be a steep drop at that point. We come back down to 10,500. If that breaks, we come down to the center of the Bollinger Band. If that breaks, then to the green 50. And the be all and end all is going to be if we can bounce from this descending trend line, which used to be our massive resistance, which hopefully will become support. If we go to XRP now, we will see that we had similar things going on with this. So as far as the super resistance consolidation from the top is concerned, we had one of those and we broke above it. We broke above it here and rallied. Very reminiscent to what has happened with Bitcoin when it broke above it, apart from XRP did it quite a long time ago. When was this? This was in February. So yeah, XRP is ahead of the game when it came to that, but it broke down with the rest of the market, which is unfortunate. But everything broke down, everything, indices, everything, all broke down. So we'll give it a pass on that one. We broke out of it again, had another little rally, and then we've accumulated here. So now the important thing is that we've not come back down to test it, and it's actually getting so far down that we may not test it unless there's some calamity event that happens that we can't account for. But what we can account for is if Bitcoin does get rejected here, which is what I am expecting, we will also come down with it. And the last time we did this, we came down to the 10 simple, just the same as Bitcoin is kind of doing now. Bitcoin broke down a lot further than that, broke down to a previous resistance level. But XRP remains strong and actually bounced from the 10 simple. This is all on the daily chart, by the way. And since then it's rallied all the way up to the top of this resistance box, finding it very difficult to break above here. So what I can see is we've got 1 2 3 wicks here forcing us back down into the resistance box. It wants to become support. It's not entirely sure what it wants to do, but we are vulnerable to Bitcoin's decision. And if Bitcoin breaks down, then I would imagine the first opportunity for a bounce is going to be this 10 simple. Now this is going to be good if it is, because the 10 simple is riding up so fast and so high that if we broke down and got supported from there, that'd be excellent, because it's inevitably going to push us up and above that 30 cent, 31 cent, and basically 32 cent high here. As far as previous supports and resistance, we've got 34, basically 34. We go from candle bodies really, 34. We'll call it roughly speaking. That would be the high of this last year, and breaking above there would be pretty good, because on the monthly then we'd have a nice higher high at that point. As far as candle bodies are concerned, we've got high highs already on the monthly. This is a brand new month, I should say, but if it continues this way, then we could reach all the way up to the top of the Bollinger Band, reaching up to 40 cent. So just bear that in mind. 40 cent is on the cards, and realistically, that is not that far away. If you think about it, from where we are right now, a 40 cent XRP would be an increase of 28%. 29%, so it's a lot of percent, obviously, but it's you can see how that's now becoming more achievable. I'm not saying it's likely, but you can see that it's possible at this point, and that will then open a lot of people's eyes to XRP, because again, what I've been saying is that yes, I haven't been really trading much of it throughout this period, but since we saw this, I've got a little bit more excited about it, and I've been trading a lot of it from here all the way to where we are right now. So I've been trading it getting on for about 6 months, relentlessly trading it, because I've noticed that it's doing something different. It's changed its trend to an accumulation trend, and now it looks like it's ended that bottom level accumulation trend and going into the higher trend. So what I'll show you is Bitcoin dominance on the weekly here, basically being rejected beneath the green 50 exponential on the weekly. So we're being brought back down. Looks like we might even make our way down to 60% dominant. Let's go to a lower time frame, like a daily, and see what happens there. So again, being rejected on the green 50. This is all bearish stuff, not looking good. And on the 4 hourly, again, way beneath all these moving averages. So actually things are looking very good for altcoins. Bitcoin's suffering, and it looks like it will continue to suffer until we make changes to this chart. At the moment, this is a bearish chart on all time frames, from low to high. It's bearish across the board, but these things can switch very fast. You can see how this flipped not too long ago, completely just flipped around on the 4 hourly, but it's rejected from this big white one here, the 200 exponential. So these are the only two that you really need to look at to dictate a general trend reversal. You don't have to have loads of moving averages. The green 50 exponential, the white 200 exponential, that generally does it for a ballpark, what's going on with this. MACD, I should say, on the 4 hourly looks like it wants to cross up. So maybe if Bitcoin does fall, alts will fall more, and that's fine by me. I'd enjoy that actually, but I think, given the fact that the chart is so bearish on dominance, is that what we would likely see is a big drop in alts and then a big buyback in alts, provided that the dominance chart looks like this, which is pretty bad on all time frames. I think that's the most likely event. You'll have a big spike up and then another drop down as alts get bought back at higher rates, much higher rates than Bitcoin. Now, I'm not saying Bitcoin's over. Bitcoin's far from over. Bitcoin, it has these moments of prolonged downtrend on dominance, but this has been downtrending for quite a while at this point now. So this is just the 4 hourly. We'll go back to the weekly and give us more of an insight. So on the weekly, we've been downtrending since this level here, which is all the way back in September 2019. So a downtrend from September 2019 all the way to here, that's a very long period of time, for a downtrend on dominance. It's not been plummeting, but it's gradually going down, which is good for altcoin traders like me. I have about, most of the time, I have half of my assets in Bitcoin, just as a kind of a hedge, and I know it's a terrible hedge because everything goes down with Bitcoin and blah blah blah. But it's what I've noticed is generally, if you go back in the last few years, what you'd notice, not the last few years, but since around about April 2019, you notice that Bitcoin actually has held value, even though it goes up generally a lot slower than altcoins. It generally holds its value. So in that respect, I like to hold about 40% of my crypto is Bitcoin. The rest of it is alts. Anyway, so that aside, that is what I'm looking for. I'm looking for Bitcoin to kind of make another stab at this, even though these wicks currently are not looking very good. We could just break down from here and go to 10,500. There is a CME gap, pretty much getting closer to where this level is here. The CME gap is at about 9,600. That could get filled, but I'm not, holding out for that figure to get filled. I'm looking at these supports and resistances mainly, and the 10,500 is the first opportunity for a bounce, just like we saw on this wick here. And like I say, we are riding this 10 simple, but it's not looking very strong. If Bitcoin breaks down, XRP will break down also. The dominance will probably go up. and then I would go back into altcoins again, probably, depending on a few other precursors. We'll have to look at that at the time. So that's what I'd generally expect. One thing else I'd like to show you is that this on TradingView, we've got longer history on this XRP chart. More importantly, it gives us the very tippy top and the ultimate low that we've had over the last 3 years. The top, absolute top, being around $3.33, and the absolute bottom being around 10 cent. And this is our Fibonacci retracement, the biggest Fibonacci retracement you could look at. And this is why on my other video that I stressed that 86 cent is more or less the be all and end all of the low end of XRP, and we'll start to see huge runs. Now, one thing I want to sort of make you aware of is that there's no guarantees in any crypto, right? We are in a weird situation financially with the economy and things. We don't know how anything's going to go, and it's all tied in together. Everything's tied together, really. But if we were to break above 86 cent, that breaks into the next zone here, and the next top area from there is going to be $1.34. The next top from there is going to be $1.70. These areas will be taken out really well, and as soon as we get across this level here, we will probably see our all-time high hit reasonably fast. But I don't think we're going to get to 86 cent anytime soon. I think we're going to be kind of quite slow and sluggish. One thing I would say though is that if you look at the MACD on the weekly, we are crossing into bullish territory at a fast rate. So, in order for us to get from here to 86 cent, it would have to do a 3x more or less, more than that, a 3x to get above that level, and then continue. Now, the MACD has essentially been accumulating for all of this zone. All of this red zone is accumulation. So all those people who talk about XRP relentlessly, it doesn't matter if it's having a good day or a bad day on YouTube, kind of selling the hopium, you know, they might be right through absolute default. Personally, I think most of those guys bought towards the top and they've just been holding on for dear life, hoping that something's going to happen and just scouring the web for anything positive to say. I mean, hats off to them. I'm pretty sure that they will get their money back in the end. But, you know, as far as what they're doing on their YouTubes, you know, that's not what I'm doing. I'm showing you something different, or I hope I am anyway. The idea is that all of this area in red is accumulation all the way from below 86 cent all the way down to 10 cent, which is ridiculous if you think about it. But in the long run, it would work out because we're looking to make our all-time high and probably a bit higher. My goals here would be from these wicks, from these candle bodies, so we're talking about $2.75, and that would probably be the low target for me. So I know I've previously said around $2, but I think once this gets going, that would be the top target to start scaling out around $2.75, and then maybe let some of it ride to see how high it can go. And given the way that this has worked in the past, so we accumulated before around, you know, between half a cent and about 3 cent, and then when we finally launched, around about, it began to pick up interest around about 20 cent. Then we launched a huge figure from there, so the accumulation zone ended at that point, and we went up, how many percent? 1,534% from the end of the accumulation zone. So that's the top end of the accumulation zone. So we're talking about a what is that? A 15x from 20. So you would have done pretty nicely. So if we put that into context and we say that the accumulation zone previously ended around about 22 cent, but for us on this occasion the accumulation zone is technically ended at the top of that red area, which is 86 cent, then we were talking about doing a 15x from about 86 cent. So my maths isn't the greatest, so on the top of my head we're talking a 10x from there is $8.60, and then if you put basically another 5x on top of that, so your 15x, this is just showing my arithmetic skills and how terrible they are. So my top target is roughly around $14 or thereabouts, and you can see how I've come to that figure. When we and this isn't exactly the way to trade. This is this is me giving a range of what I think is possible at its very top end. So a 15x from the top of the accumulation zone being 86 cent, 15x from 86 cent is the possible top end target. So that's around about $14-15 for a single XRP. That's the top end. The bottom end is this level here, and the $2.75. So scaling out from around that level is probably my plan, and seeing how high the rest could possibly ride it to, which, like I say, could end up being around $14-15. And that is the way I've come up with that number, and that is the reasons why. So accumulation zone ended around here, and we went 15x, and accumulation zone will end here, and that's where we'll start to launch, similar to the way it's behaved in the past. So if you wonder where I get these figures from, that's generally how I do it, but they're based on Fibonacci retracements, which are generally a pretty sound way to gauge price targets and also launch points. But I'm also being realistic. I'm using not just an educated guess based on previous price action of how it could go to $15. I'm also being careful and prepared to scale out below its all-time high. So that is probably the safest and cleverest way to get out of an XRP trade in the long term. That's how I would suggest doing it. Anyway, I've bored you to death enough for one day. I'll let you go. Join my Telegram if you want to know more, and subscribe to the channel if you find there's value in this. Thanks for watching. Take it easy.